And two top Texas nonprofits, Ability Connection and My Possibilities, have merged to become the state's largest provider for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, expanding access, advocacy, and support statewide. And joining us now to talk more about it, Todd Marvin, the CEO of My Possibilities, and Jim Hanafy, the former CEO of Ability Connection. Thank you both for being here. And thanks. I'm going to go ahead and start with Todd. Tell us what this merger means for the community that you serve.
Well, for My Possibilities and Ability Connection, you know, the people that we serve have multitudes of barriers to living an independent life. And when you consider all the barriers, political barriers, transportation barriers, economic barriers, employment barriers, social barriers, we realize that by working together, coming together, we could actually remove some of the internal bureaucratic barriers that just spring up over time and make it easier for people with IDD to access the services that they need to achieve an independent life.
Yeah, and along those lines, Jim, so how did this decision happen? Was this something that was done out of necessity, or is this a strategic move?
Well, it was strategic, clearly. We started about 8 months ago. Todd and I started talking, and originally we just wanted to talk about how we might work together, and we started to come up with ideas. But the more we talked, the more we realized our missions were so aligned. We had complementary programs, and after a while it became a no-brainer that this was going to be a way to improve access, improve services, and just make a huge difference.
Yeah, and Todd, so what should the families and the caregivers expect now that this merger has happened? Will there be any changes to services?
No changes to direct services. What we do expect is that there will be easier, expedited access to those services. You know, for a parent with a loved one with a disability, oftentimes they become the full-time service coordinator, caregiver for their loved one. And so we really believe that we are much better positioned to partner with those families to be able to give them greater access to those services.
And how are you handling this with your staff to make sure their transition is smooth? I guess you got to do some work internally as well.
Oh, there's always work internally, yeah. But we rolled this out to our staff last week. And I think because the partnership is so obvious, the benefits are so obvious, our staff, who are both equally passionate disability warriors that stand up and advocate and fight for the families and the folks that we serve every day, the benefits were obvious, and we've seen a great spirit amongst both staff teams.
You know, it's an interesting because there's opportunity for growth for so many people, and it was just, there was not one person who said, I don't think this is a good idea. They all said, this makes total sense, and they're excited.
All right, and real quick, just tell us a little bit about what the future holds for these organizations, especially will you keep your own independent identities, or are we going to see one brand?
We'll maintain the brands and the identities, and we will co-brand when it's to our advantage and not when it's not. In other words, there are some people that really are excited about this partnership, especially in the funding community, because again, they've seen that we're creating greater efficiencies, which means more resources can go directly to serving the people who need it the most.
All right, it's a big move, hopefully for the better for all involved. Thank you very much, both of you, for being here about this big merger, and we'll be right back with more Midday.